5, 4, 3, 2.
I know, you see, somehow the world will change for me and be so wonderful. Live life, breathe air. I know somehow we're gonna get there and feel so wonderful. It's all for real. I'm telling you just how I feel.
So there's been a new show that's been going on Investigation Discovery, and it's also been streaming on HBO Max, which I just want to say one thing. Like, this is a very controversial show. Like, the topics that have been talked about this are extremely controversial, and the allegations that have been, like, putting out there and allegations that have been proven to be true, because there's actually been people who have gone to jail for the things that have been talked about on the show. And even the people who have been accused of this stuff have even come out and said, like, yeah, some of this stuff did actually happen. Investigation Discovery and HBO Max, like, I feel like they could have put it on something a lot better. And it's also extremely, extremely shit that I've said multiple. I live here in Australia, and I can't even watch it right now. I have to, like, try and find clips of it on Twitter in order to get the information for all the stuff that's going on in the episodes. We won't get it until it gets released on Binge, which is like an Australian streaming service, which I don't even fucking have anyway, until April 20th. That is when. And that's by the time that, like, it gets released on April 20th, I think that's, like, when it's all getting released, like, all it will be done, because they're releasing it, like, episode by episode. And right now, I think it's, like, 2 episodes have come out for this show. And I just want to make a video about it, because not only has, like, the episodes for this show aired so far, and there's been a lot of stuff that has already been talked about on these episodes, and I'm going to go over everything just to get, like, you know, well, not everything, but just like a little basis, just go over everything. But Dan Schneider himself, the fucking man who was basically head of Nickelodeon for all those years, and he's the one who is copying the most shit for all the stuff that has gone down, because like I said, he was the head, he was the writer and producer for pretty much all the Nickelodeon shows, well, at least all the ones that were hugely massive, like Drake and Josh and iCarly, and then the Cat Victorious as well, like, and then the Cat and something show, Cat and Sam show, I think the fuck it was, I can't remember, but he was the head. He was the one who everything pretty much went through him. It was almost like he was pretty much the fucking CEO of Nickelodeon. And for what a lot of people have said is that, like, he pretty much did whatever the hell he wanted to do. And a lot of this stuff in terms of whatever he wanted to do, sometimes that can be a good thing, because it gives, you know, a person who's a writer and a producer a lot of freedom. But when it comes to the case of Dan Schneider and all of his fucking little goons that worked under him, that was not the case at all. Now, Dan Schneider is being accused of many things, many bad things that have happened. Supposedly, there was 2 women who were in the writing room that were connected with Dan Schneider, who worked on The Amanda Show along with him, where apparently they were made to split a single salary between the 2 of them. 2 women. So apparently there's a lot of gender discrimination that was going on in Nickelodeon as well. And then Dan Schneider also threatened that woman as well when she was looking to go to the Writers Guild. But not only that, but apparently there was a horrific story that went on in this writer's room as well, that they were working on scenes for this young girl, and Stratton was sharing a story about her own high school, like, experience, and Dan said to her that it would be funny if she leaned over the table and acted like she was getting sodomized, which, if you don't know what that means, it's basically taking it up the bum. When I read that, because like I said, I've had to find a lot of this information through articles, because we can't actually watch the series here in Australia. That, to me, is fucking just blows my goddamn mind that someone would ever say that to another human being. And not only Dan Schneider is the one who's being, like, accused of a lot of things, is that, like, as much as a lot of the stuff that he did was extremely creepy and weird, apparently he would force, or, like, you know, get a lot of the adult people who were working on the set to give him really, like, massages, and he was really creepy as well when he was on set. And let's not just talk about him being creepy on set, but it was also his writing that was extremely creepy as well. Let's not take anything away from that. Does everybody remember these clips of Ariana Grande, who I just want to say that she has not come out and said anything about these. Like her fellow co-star Sam, Jeanette McCourty, she has come out multiple occasions and talking about how bad her experience was with Nickelodeon. And she's kind of gone a little bit off the rails, which, I mean, if you have heard the stuff that went down on these shows, I mean, I don't really blame her for like the route that she has gone down, because a lot of this stuff that's happened is fucking traumatizing and fucking like absolutely unbelievable. There is a whole fucking episode as well. Carly on the iCarly show Miranda Cosgrove is naked in the bathtub, and she gets her foot stuck in the tap for the bathtub, and that's the storyline. What is it with Dan Schneider and his obsession with feet? Remember, does everyone remember when this was the Nickelodeon logo for a while? Like, it's like the signs for how weird this writing crew was and how weird Dan Schneider was. It was right in front of our faces for so fucking long, for a long period of time. But it wasn't just Dan Schneider who's the one who's being exposed as well from this show. Multiple people who worked with Dan Schneider, who he does say come out. He says that he supposedly wasn't the one who hired like these people. It was like, you know, the actual companies and Nickelodeon themselves who were the ones who hired these people. But there have been multiple accounts of some of the people who are working on these shows, along with Dan Schneider, who were sexually abusing some of the child actors on these shows as well, and also sending sexual photos to some of the child. One of the biggest ones is Brian Peck. Brian Peck worked along Dan Schneider, worked under Dan Schneider, and he is the one who got put into jail for many, many years. From like, I think he got first arrested in 2003, and for some reason he is out now. I just want to say, he's done his time. He is out. And for some fucking reason, why is it that he got rehired? How is it that an accused sexual child predator, someone who's on a child predator's list, on a literal sex offenders list, is hired again and still has a fucking job? That blows my goddamn brain. And it's come out that it was Drake Bell from Drake and Josh is the one who he sexually abused. I also saw this as well that was like going around Twitter is I don't know if you've ever watched, there's another show that was on Nickelodeon for a long time called Ned's Declassified, which I did like when I was younger, and the cast of that has actually stuck around and become really good friends, and they still hang out and they like do podcasts or whatever. And the lead actor for that, the guy who played Ned himself, was on TikTok Live and started making fucking jokes about how Drake was sexually abused, which to me, that's too far, man. Like, that's too far. Apparently he came out and he's actually apologized for those, like, you know, him mocking the docuseries. But to me, that's just still, like, come on, man. Really? Fucking really? And like I've mentioned as well, and I said I was going to talk about it, is that Dan Schneider has come out and he's made this whole entire interview that he's done with this guy, Boogie. And if you recognize him, yes, it's Tebow from iCarly. Remember the guy who was always selling shit on a stick? The bagel on the stick? This is the only photo that I could find that was good quality of him selling fucking pickles on a stick. This guy. I loved this guy. I will admit, is that I did like this guy. But one thing that I didn't fucking love was this interview itself. And as you can see by the photo that I've shared, if you look at the likes and dislikes, you can tell that a lot of people didn't like it, and they've turned the fucking comments off. So you can tell just how bad it is. Now, you can go watch this if you want. I think I watched it, and it's like 19 minutes long. And to me, the whole entire thing is fucking scripted. It does not feel genuine whatsoever, and it doesn't really feel like Dan Schneider is really, to me, taking like full accountability of what actually happened. And he kind of makes himself out like, you know, all that stuff happened a long time ago, and if I could go back, yes, I would change all of this stuff, and like, you know, I didn't really mean to make anyone feel uncomfortable, and all I wanted to do was make kids shows and make people laugh. I'm sorry, but some of the shit, like when you go back and you watch some of the old like jokes that were on this show, like I showed the Ariana clips of her, you know, when she was in her character Kat. Why is she eating shit off her foot? What's funny about her trying to like squeeze juices out of a goddamn fucking potato? Some of this stuff is really weird. And when she's hanging off the bed and starts pouring water on herself, I'm sorry, that's not funny. Like, I know maybe as a kid, yeah, you would say that's, oh, but it was made for kids. Kids are fucking dumb. Yeah, kids are dumb, and they pretty much find almost anything funny. But at the same time, if an adult could go up to something and say, yeah, this is inappropriate and this is just really fucking weird, then it shouldn't be in there. Then yeah, it's not made for kids at all. It should not be made for kids. I also feel like he didn't actually, like, you know, they didn't ask him about the whole entire feet thing. Like, they kind of just, like, went around the topics and they just kind of, like, talked about the topics generally, about, like, how general some of the topics were. And they didn't really, like, target them and say, like, hey, what about this specifically? What is your obsession with feet? Because I really want to fucking know about Dan Schneider's obsession with feet. I really have to fucking know. He is still a weirdo. At first, when I was watching the interview, I was like, I was trying to think. I was going in there with like an open mind. I was not trying to like go in there with like me fully hating on Dan Schneider, even though I already kind of did. But I was like trying to empty my mind, and I was just like, is this genuine? And I was really thinking to myself. And then by the time like I started watching it more, and as it went on, it just felt more and more scripted and more like bullshit. That's all it is. It's a fucking PR trip. And the fact is that, like, it's on his own YouTube channel. This is his first video that he's posted in 3 years. 3 years ago was his last post before he fucking posted this. And of course, it's him fucking coming out and talking about, like, you know, the show itself. This is of course it's a whole fucking PR trip. That's all it is. But the one thing that, like, I mean, you can't fault Dan for is that apparently he did help Drake Bell when it came to, like, all the stuff, like, when it came to Brian Peck. So as much as Dan Schneider is a fucking weirdo and a bit of a, like, a creepy dude, he seems like that, you know, that creepy teacher that you had at high school. That's how I saw someone describe him on Twitter, is that he's not as bad as Brian Peck or some of the other people that also worked at Nickelodeon as well. Because as much as Dan Schneider was a creep and he wrote weird jokes for some of his shows and just wanted to include feet in every possible fucking way that he could. Like, I remember now, if I think back, the iCarly show had an absurdly amount of feet jokes. I don't know why. Like, why? Wasn't there like an episode where they were putting their feet in spaghetti? What's funny about that? That's just fucking weird. That's weird. But there is some people who are a lot worse. And then it makes it clear of how you can see, like, how people like Amanda Bynes go from, like, you know, this beautiful, stunning woman who has, like, a lot of, you know, potential to be a superstar and a Hollywood actress, and then she goes to whatever the fuck this is. Like, what the fuck? You can tell, like, this is the product of what happened. Like, when people are abused or used the wrong way when they're at such a young age, they're gonna end up fucked up. I mean, just look at Drake Bell. He was sexually abused when he was younger, and then just a couple years ago, he himself was accused of abusing a child and abusing his ex-girlfriend. Like, holy shit! What the fuck? It makes sense. It goddamn makes fucking sense. Like, these people have gone off the fucking rails because they were treated like shit from all these fucking TV shows, and they were all run by fucking Dan Schneider. They were all run by Dan Schneider. And as much as he said that he tried to help out with the Drake Bell situation, and, you know, it seems like, you know, these people got their time done, I feel like we still don't know everything that really happened. I feel like there is still going to be things, even though no matter how long this show goes on for, no matter what they say, there will always be stuff that happened that we will never know about. Like, this is the stuff that we know about so far. Imagine the shit that we don't know about. There's definitely some things that happened that are so much worse than this. 100%. It's how it always is. Like, if you, it just like, the things that you hear are bad. Imagine the things that you don't hear about. Imagine how fucking bad they are. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this down below. I recommend you go watch that Dan Schneider interview as well, just so you get a bit more of, like, a perception of where I'm coming from, and then, like, let me know what you think about his interview as well. Like, if you want to, since his comments are turned off, if you want to, like, vent your frustration of how terrible his interview or apology or whatever the fuck it is, I really don't know how to actually describe it. To me, it's so fucking scripted and so terrible in every way possible. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this down below. That's it from me. Peace out.